Hey, welcome to Comic Talk. I'm Joshua.
And I'm Joshua.
Okay, and we're going to do Snot Girl. Green hair, don't care.
Who is she? From the creator of Scott Pilgrim.
Alright, so we're talking about Snot Girl. This is Brian Lee. Yeah, Brian Lee O'Malley, Leslie Hung, with Mickey Quinn and Mare Adomo. And it's volume 1, Green Hair Don't Care.
Yeah. So she's a fashion blogger. Takes her aesthetic presence very seriously and stuff. She's afflicted with terrible allergies, which is where the name comes from. And she gets on a new allergy medicine, and some shit starts happening, and you're not really sure what that's about. So there's a lot of that.
A lot of that, yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I loved it.
You loved it?
Yeah.
Nice, okay.
Well, I loved it as in I would probably put it at least a 7.5.
Yeah, well, no, that's good. Yeah. I liked it a lot from a creative standpoint. Let's put it that way. I maybe didn't love the story. I felt it just came off a little bit vapid to me, mostly just because I don't think I was
You're into that word lately.
Into the mind frame for it, maybe.
Yeah.
But I love all the risks taken.
Yeah,
I love
a lot of them.
The artistic risks, the storytelling risks, the characters.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in here to really love.
Yeah, definitely. And I think probably why I'm saying conservative 7.5 is because I didn't feel like it was necessarily written like for me.
Right. Right.
But I felt like were I that person, who was kind of going for, like, it would have absolutely, like, hit all the buttons.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm completely with you. We're on the same page. We're just expressing it differently again. Right? So, yeah, it just was not something that, as I'm reading it, like, I was completely engrossed in, just because it's a little bit outside of my sphere of understanding or interests, you know?
It's more like you liken it to people that you've met versus, like, yourself.
Yeah. And it's just...
she's kind of endearing at moments.
Yeah, and it rides the line in a lot of ways where the characters are stereotyped to a degree that it feels a little bit grating, but his work has always been that way. That's what he does, and it's supposed to be part of the charm. But I think maybe as I've gotten older, I get less enjoyment out of those portrayals of stereotypes.
Sure. I think it was an excellent vehicle to do that, though, because our protagonist, so to speak, is clearly going to be a very, like, superficial person,
right?
And then that's emboldened very early on when she's like, I just give everybody nicknames because otherwise I can't, like, keep track of my friends,
right?
And she's got like 2 of them. I think, given that, it would almost be a little bit weird to not do that. It was very well crafted, like, from that sort of standpoint. Right.
It really feels like that was the central conceit.
Yeah.
I think part of my issue was, as I'm reading it, I'm thinking, is this character like this because he wanted to explore a character of this sort? Or is this character like this because it makes it then easy to create stereotypical characters and
right
situations?
tool for the job,
Right,
yeah.
Absolutely. Artistically, I'm going to jump to the art. We can go back.
Okay.
We can go back and talk about the story a little bit more.
Out of order from what we usually do.
Right. I know. I'm so sorry.
But messing with the continuity here.
But I feel like we have to talk about the art of this.
Let's do it now.
Fairly straightforward and early, because it's very different, right? What have you read anything that looked quite like this?
It's almost got a little bit of an anime vibe to it.
Yeah.
I think, like, especially the male characters kind of come off in that way. Mix that with a little bit of, like, Image House style, but then there was, like, another component that,
it's got, like, some Squirrel Girl kind of things going on. It's got this really unique look that even when I picked it up off the shelf going, should we review this? I've heard a lot about it. And I opened it up, I said, yep. We sure should. Like, I don't know what it's about, but this looks interesting. And so right away, if you're a person that just likes art, especially like pop art, it's got a very pop art style to it, very clean and crisp and colorful.
Simple lines.
Yeah, and also just if you're into the idea of like breaking up convention in comics, like it breaks a lot of comic convention and how a lot of the dialogue is placed and structured and just how it's presented. I think that alone, if you're into, the construction artistically of comics, you should probably check it out because it's pretty cool. So do you have anything you want to say about that before we go back and talk about this story now?
No, well, it'll probably come to me as we...
Okay, sure.
We're good for now.
Sure. So from a storytelling aspect, how did you feel about it?
Usually you can kind of predict the left turn in books and stuff like that. And I don't know if it's because this was already like so out of my wheelhouse that I like wasn't expecting it or something. But like when it really takes that left turn, it was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does it a few times, really.
It does. Yeah.
Like it really, I wasn't expecting to have the narrator questioned so much. Right? We get it's very unreliable, and I read like the first half of it thinking that I was reading something from the perspective of a reliable narrator.
Sure.
And then we get somewhere in where it starts to twist around and it becomes, all of a sudden it becomes clear that she's not.
Yeah. It's like that Machinist movie, but instead of a machinist, it's a fashion blogger.
Right. And I think for something with the style and look and the appeal that this has, or who this appeals to, I think that was a really bold choice. And I think it's also probably going to broaden a lot of readers' perspective of writing and literature in general.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is, I think, a kind of a weighty claim that I'm making here, but I think it actually will.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it does, too, because I could, like, along the beats of the first issue or two, I could handle like maybe about a trade of that, and then I'd be like, okay, well, I'm done with this. But because it has that sort of like weird, eerie, like uncertain sort of undertone, like I actually finished it and was like, damn, I want to read more of this.
Agreed. It definitely grows into itself as you continue through it. I would even say like the first issue or so, although I liked the look of it,
was not necessarily representative of...
and I wasn't super into it. I was like, I don't know. I guess this will be okay. But as we get into the twists and turns and the sudden lefts and rights that it takes, I liked it pretty good. So what about the character voices here? Did you have any of the same problems I had with feeling like they were playing to type a little strongly, or did that bother you or not?
It was super evident that they were doing that. But again, like tool for the job, like of course she would have like fucking friends like that, Right, like who else would she hang out with?
Right. And it's a good point. They are all like fashion bloggers, right? So they're all trying to portray themselves
in a certain way. Light. Yeah. So in that regard, not really. I don't think so. And it would have been a little bit weird had they not,
And how about the second story, or the sort of the other thread with the male detective? Where is that going? Or did you find that interesting at all?
Yeah, that is interesting. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see where that goes. Definitely.
Right? Yeah, because I really expected it to be like a love interest kind of situation, but then he was... It starts to turn into like a detective story, and it's a little bit of both, and it's pretty strangely, it's an approach I haven't really seen, especially in something like this where everything else was so starkly different. Like it's almost like a John Layman, his characters in Chew, where it's like this weird like offbeat detective story that's like a little bit fun, and the characters aren't your normal standard detective kind of characters. Just right here in the middle of this weird like fashion blogger thing that It was an interesting second story to have intermingled throughout.
Yeah, and I think he did a good job of sort of incorporating it in a way that makes sense, you know, because it would have been very easy to just say, okay, like, this thing happened, obviously, you know, it would be a good time to introduce a character, you know, to this end, but then, like, the way that it's packaged and, like, sort of preemptively, like, sort of hinted at before it even, like, comes into the fold, like, he's not even, like, truly into the fold at this point. Like, they've talked, like, one time, you know,
right.
But yeah, very good, like, long-term storytelling, I think.
I think so too. I'll be interested to see where this goes. I think this is probably going to get more twisted and weird in further volumes. And I mean, it is Brian O'Malley, so that seems likely anyway, right? He writes some pretty weird stuff.
Yeah.
So overall, first, who would you recommend it to?
Oh, girls in their 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Especially anybody that's aware of the fashion world, fashionistas and blogging and that sort of stuff. I think you need to have
not somebody that's, you know, a bit like nervous and self-conscious. I think,
sure.
You know, would just, yeah, like there's like a scene in there where she's talking to the doctor and he asks if she's like taking any other medication, and she's like, should I be? Like, are other people taking stuff that I'm not taking? Am I bad at medicine?
Right.
Just the line, like, am I bad at medicine? Like, I could see being a very, like, identifiable thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think in general, at least awareness, though, of, like, blogging, Pinterest, you know, the sort of quintessential female internet experience is almost a necessity to really get the most out of this.
And I think you have to, like, at least have experienced most of, like, the archetype people in this to really, like, get it, you know, because, I mean, like, a lot of the conversation, a lot of the dialogue happens, like, in text and stuff, and, you know, so, like, the cutesy girl, of course, like, she's gonna text, like, in the way that you would expect to, and, you know, unless you have some sort of, like, context or frame of reference for that, it might come off a bit
the characters are archetypical in order to sort of shortcut, to give you some familiarity with who they are and what they're about, so you don't have to, so he doesn't have to, like, invest the time in building the characters. He's just like,
here they are,
here it is, like, you already know sort of what to expect from this person.
Which I appreciate that he did that and didn't try to go into too much depth, like, explaining, like, all that other, because it's, like, so unnecessary, but it's, like, something that a lot of other people would have done. You know?
Yeah, he just assumes familiarity, that you're going to have basic familiarity with these archetypical people.
And if not, then it's not for you, you know. There's no reason to give me, like, a tutorial on how to read the fucking book. Yeah, it definitely treats you as an adult and treats the audience as somebody worthy of his time, right? It's not, it doesn't talk down at all. Who would you recommend it to?
I mean, probably really the same. You know, late high school, early college females. And again, anybody who's just into breaking convention artistically. And it is cartoony and simple art, but there's just something about the constant breaking of convention, especially the lettering, right? Like the lettering just constantly is fucking around. Like, it just does things that you're not...
clever lettering.
Yeah, it's just... And maybe it's just, like, non-board lettering.
Sure.
You know?
They tried for once.
Yeah, they didn't just hire somebody who then made all the little white bubbles and put the words in them. Like, they fucked around with it and tried to play with it and give it a different look, which I think is pretty cool.
Definitely.
Out of 10...
I already gave mine.
Like a high 7, mid 7, somewhere in there.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, maybe an 8. Yeah.
Maybe a low 8.
Yeah.
High 7 for me, low 8 for you, maybe. So
somewhere in there. Yeah.
That gives you an idea. And check back with us next week. We're going to do... Are we doing 7 to Eternity or...
Mouse.
One
of the two.
Next couple weeks, we're going to do those two things. They're so clearly very similar. Also, you can check here or here for things, right? There.